Ladies and gentlemen, what an honor tonight to have this gentleman with me. Us all, of course. We'll get around to everybody in a second, but let's start by introducing our guest, the one and only, the war driven, the graduate of the Jacob Prince Wrestling Academy recently, Mr. Jonny Faith. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. How are you guys? Thank you for having me on. It's a privilege and opportunity to be able to come on and talk to you gentlemen about things.
You know, it's a privilege for us to have someone that's been slammed by Dr. Tom Pritchard. That's always, if Dr. Tom has thrown you around at some point, you're always welcome here.
Yeah, it was an interesting 12 weeks with Dr. Tom, I can tell you that.
We will get deep into it. I got a couple of questions first, but let's welcome the rest of the panel to below to the corner. I always get this that way. That is the Rabbit Beaver, Mr. Joseph Hughes. Joseph, we saw some great wrestling last Saturday night, and we got a great guest tonight.
Yes, we did. We were at Wrestling for a Cause in Chattanooga, and we had an awesome time that's out there. And then tonight, we have the man, the myth, the legend right here, Jonny Faith. And if you don't get in line, he'll give you a grenade launcher.
Look, I'm scared of just hearing that. So, and two, I think I got this one. No, I don't. Over there is the man that's going to ask Jonny Faith about his favorite Waffle House breakfast, Mr. Howie Cheney. What's up tonight, Howie?
Hey guy, thanks for being on, Jonny Faith. Heard a lot about you, and I'm going to stick on here as long as I can. We got some severe weather in the area, so if I disappear, don't think nothing about it.
Yeah, we got some down here as well.
We are covering a multiple state podcast here. Howie's in North Alabama, Johnny's down in South Georgia, and of course, me and Joseph go nowhere, so we're still in the same area that we're always in. So, Jonny, before I go to these other two guys, I got a couple of questions I want to ask you. First of all, reading your biography, one of the things that stood out to me was this decision. And believe me, I believe Dr. Tom Pritchard's the best trainer, not in the Southeast, in the country. I honestly believe that in my heart. But this decision to kind of uproot yourself from your home and your family and to take 12 weeks to work with Dr. Tom, how hard was it to make?
So it really, the way it came about was kind of a coincidence. It started last year. I had a heart attack last year, back in April of last year. So I had a severe heart attack, had a single bypass open heart surgery to repair it, and didn't think I was going to be able to wrestle again. Wound up there. We'll get into more details later, I'm sure, throughout the show, but wound up miraculously not having any damage to my heart. Doctor gave me full clearance to wrestle again. I spent an entire month getting back into ring shape and all that good stuff, and really didn't like my performance in the ring. I had 5 matches, I believe, since my heart attack. I've had 5 matches since my heart attack, and honestly didn't like my performance and thought that I'd really regressed, and the heart attack really took something away from me. And then Dr. Tom, school started advertising classes for January, February timeframe, and I got with my wife and was like, hey, I'm almost 40 years old. I'm like almost at the end. This is probably the last chance I got to do something with this, and we were like, we planned it out together. We teamworked it. We budgeted it, for a couple months, and, miraculously everything went according to plan. I found a place right outside of La Follette and moved there and spent 3 months training under Dr. Tom's learning tree. And like I said, we'll get more to it later, probably in the show, details and whatnot. But, like I said, it was just a crazy thing that fell in my lap.
In reading your story, and I do, believe me, as a dad, and, I know what it'd be like to, my daughter leaves every summer. So I experience that 8 or 10 weeks without your family, without your kids every year. And it's unreasonably tough. One thing that struck me, and I know everybody knows the story of Terry Gordy actually falling ill on an airplane ride, and I know he came back at 41 to make his attempt, and later was in the WWE and ECW in some places, but he had to relearn He went to basically back to ground level zero to learn how to wrestle again. Did you feel like you were doing that a little bit with your heart attack? Was it getting used to your body, or was it just motory symptoms that, hey, I know how to do this, I just got to do it again?
Well, like I said, at first I had no idea if I was going to be able to wrestle again. So it was kind of like, I had already kind of chalked up that I was going to have to hang it up. You know what I mean? Because a heart attack, pretty severe. But miraculously, there was no damage, so I was good. And in that sense, so I decided, hey, I'm going to slowly work my way back. I did cardiac rehab. Supposedly, I was supposed to do 3 to 4 months of that. I wound up doing a month of that. So I did 3 to 4 months of cardiac rehab in 1 month. Wound up graduating their program 2 months early. Spent an entire month of June last summer, slowly working my way back. Walks, jogging, running. I spent methodically. I got a trainer to help me get back into shape and all that good stuff. And, I spent the entire month of June getting back into that shape. Got to roll around some rings a few times, knock off the ring rust a little bit. Had my first match, 4 months almost to the day of my heart attack afterwards, but really didn't like the performance because, I had regressed. I had lost a lot of muscle mass, because of the heart attack and the surgery and all that. And then throughout my recovery, I spent, 8 weeks in the chair because I couldn't go anywhere and do anything because, my sternum bone was still healing. So I gained a lot of weight, and I really, tried as best I could for that entire month to get it off. And, by the time the first match rolled around, I wasn't happy with it. And then, I kept at it. I kept going to the gym. I kept getting better, getting in the ring when I could, to train and all that. And I really I got to November of last year and was just really frustrated and really just wanted to hang it up. And then Dr. Tom School put out that advertisement, and, that was pretty much all she wrote. Talked to my wife and my family about it, and, gave me the green light.
That's awesome. Joseph, you brought this young man to me, and you know how I love stories. He's got to be one of the best stories. Not only is he a great wrestler, but the story behind Jonny Faith is almost a movie in itself.
Absolutely. And the thing that gets me is not only does he have the pedigree inside the ring, but outside the ring, you have to live up to what they call the Army standards when you're in the Army, which is LDR, SHIP, loyalty, duty, respects, honor, integrity, selfless service, and personal courage. And the man, it oozes that to a T. And I was really impressed with him. We got to meet him at none other than the School of Morton, SOM 505 Live, for those of you that don't know. And his first day there, he just hit me with something special. So I told him I want him on commentary with me. Pull him over here. He can promo. I want him on commentary with me. And the man just had a wonderful time there, helped me out quite a bit, and taught me some stuff as I was talking to him about some stuff, and it just worked out perfectly. So I can tell you right now, the story that he gives is well-deserving of a Hollywood movie. Not only a Hollywood movie, but it's well-deserving of him getting his own push in professional wrestling, just the way that it's happened. And like you said, heart attack is 100% a career ender. And for you to come back and rehab and to push yourself as hard as you are, man, you've got some determination. You've got something in you. You've got a dog that wants to fight, and it's not done yet, and it's not going to be done for years to come. You keep fighting, Jonny. And I can't believe that, all it took was one advertisement. One advertisement is all you got to see, and you made the decision that you were going to follow through and do it. That's a big decision. And it speaks to your family life, who your wife is, who your kids are, and how much they support you and want you to be in this business and be successful. And because you have that push behind you, I know you're going to do the best things in life. Hey, man, we know that right up the road from you just a little ways, there's a lot of wrestling going on in Georgia, and also in Florida. There's a lot of wrestling that's going on in Florida, and you may have the ticket to be opened up to you tonight, Jonny Faith. So don't let it pass you by. You let everybody know how to book you tonight at some point in time.
I definitely will. And you want to talk about family, and the weird situation is my family had no idea what really pro wrestling was until they met me. When I met my wife, and, she came with, my son and my daughter, package deal, obviously, came with the territory. I was pretty excited to start a family, but they had no idea what pro wrestling was. So taking them to their very first pro wrestling show, and me performing on the card, it was a small show. It wasn't anything spectacular, but, to be able to show them that and to introduce them to professional wrestling, it really blew my mind because, they fell in love with it. And now, they're always asking, when's the next show? Like, when are we going? When's the next one? When we getting in the car, So it's pretty awesome, how the family aspect, came into play with that. And, my wife, she's been so supportive with me, throughout my wrestling career. She knows it takes a lot. It takes, just as much inside the ring and at the shows as it does outside, because you got to promote, you got to flyer, you got to, do all these things that kind of take away from family time a little bit, and they understand that that's important, piece of the puzzle when it comes to pro wrestling. So, I think them watching me in the ring perform and seeing how happy it makes me and how much it helps me escape things, I think that really inspires them to keep supporting me the way they do.
Mm. Hey, and Joseph, just jump in just for a second. I saw the show he was on commentary. It not only does he have a future in the ring, he might have it behind the mic too.
Oh, absolutely. The funny thing about wrestling is you never know where you're going to be in 5 to 10 years. You never know what you're going to be doing or how you're going to be doing it. And I was talking to Pogo the Clown last night. I don't know if you know Pogo, Johnny, but Pogo is a JPWA kid as well, and he's over in Australia right now. And we were talking about where we began and what we saw ourselves doing in the future and how we got to where we were. And if you would have told me when I was setting up chairs with Harley Race and I was cleaning bathrooms and doing concessions that I would one day be behind commentary, or I would one day be running a show and one day be involved setting up the rings and doing things with people, I would have told you that you were crazy. Absolutely 100% crazy 15 years down the road that we were going to have our own little talk show about this stuff and be doing it. And that's one of the beautiful things about the wrestling industry is today you might be injured, but tomorrow you could be a brand new man in the world of wrestling. And it doesn't matter where it's at or what it's going to be happening. As long as you find your niche, you're going to get in there and you're going to do good. So you definitely have a career in commentary if you decide to go that route.
I was always told, after my career was over, you could be a manager, commentary. You could do stuff. You could do something, because of the way you present yourself, the way you speak, and how you just it comes natural to you. And I think that was the military in me, being a natural speaker and just being able to motivate and kind of project things.
Johnny, how long have you been in the business all total?
So total, I just passed 6 years on April 27th. So the day after I graduated JPWA, I hit my 6-year mark.
That's cool. So did your first match back after the heart attack and everything, my main question is the chops and stuff. Did it interfere with where they cut you open at?
No, my sternum bone, obviously they had to cut it open, and it took 8 weeks to repair. Went back to the doctor after that 8 weeks. They did an x-ray, bone healed fine. Everything was great. I kind of took it easy on my chest for the first couple months or so. Actually, I really kept it easy until I got to Dr. Tom's school. And then that's when I really when I had to put it through the test to make sure it was, all healed up. I mean, I protected it as much as I could throughout last year and those 5 matches, just to be sure that it was, the doctor said it was all healed up, and I trust his judgment, but at the same time, I wanted to be extra cautious. So, I did keep it simple and keep it easy. But, getting to Dr. Tom's school, it changed, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. And being in Dr. Tom's school and everything, how much on hand is Dr. Tom actually in there?
He's there every night, and he's right there in you. Like, he's right there with you every step of the way, no more than 2 feet away from any time you're doing it. He's always in the ring with us. Mondays and Tuesdays is in ring. Wednesdays is promo nights. Thursdays and Fridays is in ring, and Dr. Tom is always there every step of the way. Sometimes he'll have some guys from his advanced class or people that have graduated come in and help him out, but Dr. Tom's there every step of the way. He is not miss a practice. If he's not there, we're not having practice.
Does he get in the ring with y'all and mix it up a little bit?
See, he had shoulder surgery, I think, right before our cycle, right before our class started. So he didn't really mix it up with us, but he was still hands-on as much as he could. You know what I'm saying? But I believe he had shoulder surgery right before our class started. So, you know, he wasn't really as hands-on or as physical. You know, see, I've been to seminars and super camps with Dr. Tom where he's thrown me around, where we've locked up and done headlock takeovers and things like that, you know, but with the shoulder surgery, you know, he kind of had to take a step back a little bit on the physicality part, but he was still there guiding us, mentoring us, and you know, showing us exactly how he teaches and how he trains.
And to that point, I want to say this is, if you go to JPWA, if you go to Dr. Tom's school, he is going to give you everything that's in here, everything that's up there. And he's going to show you how to do it. And he's going to show you how to do it properly and how not to hurt people and how to make sure that you're safe with somebody else inside the ring. And Johnny, you can attest to that, because like you're saying, even though he's hurt currently, he's giving it to you from up here.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what I mean, you know, all the stuff in the ring and all that comes with it as well. But the wisdom and the knowledge behind it, the reasoning behind how we do everything, like his, you know, every word, everything he says is just, you know, it's almost gold. It's almost like, you know, if you could take Dr. Tom's knowledge that he puts into your brain and turn it into money, you'd be a rich person when you walked out 12 weeks after school.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, you know, the hands-on approach, people ask me, because sometimes they go to these schools and, you know, the head trainer or whoever the school is named after or whatever is not really there, or they're there, you know, sometimes here and there, you know, and, you know, with Dr. Tom, he's there 24/7, like every night, you know, he's right there with us, ready to beat us into the mat and, you know, drill us and just, you know, make sure we are getting our $3,000 worth for sure.
So which is easier, the wrestling school or the military?
So I had somebody ask me that as well. You know, and I treated it kind of like basic training. You know what I mean? Like I was preparing for basic training. Like I knew I was going to go to Dr. Tom's school in November. So right after around Thanksgiving, I think I knew I was going to go, and they pushed the school to February 3rd. So I had a couple months to get into shape, if that makes sense. So I kind of did what my, you know, recruiter did to me. You know, I kind of did a 2-month, you know, get in shape program. You know, obviously you can't get in complete shape because in-ring shape is a lot different than just, you know, cardio and gym outside the ring. But so I treated it like basic. So I did all I could to get in as great a shape as possible before I went there. And, you know, it was kind of like being in the military again. You know, I mean, obviously it wasn't, you know, 24/7 round the clock like the Army was, but at the same time, you know, those 4 and 5 hours that we spent in the ring, you know, really put you down.
Johnny, I got a couple of pictures. The journey you've just been talking about, and we're going to move on into the ring career. But there's some stuff that you put on Facebook that just, you know, I suffered a car wreck back in 2012 where I was in a wheelchair for almost a year. And you posted this picture and said you looked at it every day. And of course, you're having your heart surgery. And it almost riches me to look at the pictures of me in the hospital, you know, for 9 months, basically. How did you turn that into motivation?
So I was, you know, I knew I was moving to Tennessee for 3 months, and I really wanted to take a piece of my family with me. So, you know, I got some more, I hung pictures of my family up as well as that picture, but I really wanted motivation. Like I really wanted, you know, to go to Dr. Tom's school. And even though, you know, there were some days that I didn't want to get out of bed, there were some days that I was just tired, I was beat to hell, you know, I looked over at that picture hanging on the wall by my door, and I saw the quotes, and, you know, those are from my dad. All those quotes are from what my father has told me over the years to motivate me, you know, to stick it to the man, if that makes sense. And, you know, in that sense, you know, I really needed something to jumpstart me every day. If I woke up and just felt like crap every day, you know, while I was there, my dad's death anniversary was while I was there. You know, there were a few other anniversaries while I was there. So, you know, I knew at some point I was going to get low. So I needed motivation. So I tried to find the crappiest part of my life over the past 2 years that have really just kept me in the toilet. And I wanted to use it as motivation. And that was it. My heart attack was the lowest point of the last couple of years of my life. So I decided to try to turn that into fuel. And it did, man. Every day I looked at that picture of me and I saw how much I had changed. And when that date hit, March 11th, the year when that anniversary hit of that picture, I went to Dr. Tom's school and kicked its tail. And I just thought to myself after that practice was over, wow, a year ago I was almost dead. And now look at me. I'm here with one of the best trainers in the world, doing what I can to get better and showing everyone my resilience.
That's awesome. One more picture here. My friend Pat Rose, wrong one. My friend Pat Rose would say this was his tag team partner that he brought up. Of course, Pritchard and Rose with Sherry Martel back in Memphis wrestling. Tom Pritchard, of course, of the Heavenly Bodies. Tom Pritchard, worldwide famous, member of WWE Skip and Zip. Tell me what that man meant to the last 12 weeks to you.
He meant everything. He I told my wife, when I decided to come up here, I was like, I'm going to do everything that I can to learn from this man. Every opportunity that I get to learn from this man, I'm going to take advantage of, because I don't know when the opportunity I'm going to get to be able to pick Dr. Tom's brain again, so to be able to move to Tennessee for 12 weeks, like I said, I've done seminars and super camps with him, a couple hours a day, maybe a weekend, but nothing like 12 weeks with that man, and after the first day, I was just like, wow, if this is how the next, 11 weeks and 6 days are going to go, then I'm sold. Like I've learned so much today, I got to go home and write it down, and that was another thing that I did. I took detailed notes every day, of things that we did and, things that he said. I at least tried to remember everything, and every night I would go home and I would write little notes down and make sure that I kept notes of, things that he's told us, critiques, his wisdom and his knowledge the past 12 weeks really, have really opened my eyes in the terms of professional wrestling, especially when I was ready to hang it up. It kind of gave me a new love for wrestling again.
Johnny, did anybody call him the knockoff Roddy Piper while you guys were in school?
Nah, I don't think I've heard that one.
Don't do it. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't think I heard that one. No.
Hey, let's, this is the first. Now I'm going to set this one up. Last one I'm going to show. Joseph contacted me, which Joseph works with us, and Howie, of course, is my business partner. And Joseph said, I've got someone for you. And I then, of course, went to look you up. This is the first picture I found of Jonny Faith.
Wow. And
I thought, well, that guy's going to be a star. We might as well get him on there. Tell me who that guy is.
That guy, I don't know who that guy is, actually. That guy looks a lot different. I mean, the picture's the same. All right. But what's behind the picture is a lot different now. I think that picture was probably about 3 or 4 years old, I believe, and when I made that graphic, it says 5'8", 195, that, those stats have changed, obviously, but well, not the height, but the weight definitely has changed. It's a lot lower now, thankfully. But that is not war-driven Jonny Faith. I think that used to be the American hero, Jonny Faith, and I was the American hero for, the first half of up until my heart attack, but then the heart attack, I feel like, took something from me, and I really needed to just not be so much flamboyant anymore or anything like that. I think really I tapped back into my war days. I really did, after my heart attack, because it really put a lot of things into perspective, just like combat did. So it kind of drove me back to my war days. So that's where War Driven came from.
That's awesome. Hey, Joseph, I've not seen a 185 6th grade, so I'm going to let you take over. I think Johnny done hurt my feelings. So
Johnny's hasn't hurt your feelings. Come on now. So, Johnny, you said that it took something out of you and you had to find something. And do you feel like you're on the battlefield every night again? Every time you get inside that ring, you feel like you're on the battlefield and you have something to prove because you're at war with whoever's inside the ring with you?
Yeah, and most of the time I'm at war with myself. I mean, obviously the opponent, yes, but myself, more than anything, because I got to make sure that I'm being the best that I can be, and if I'm not the best I can be, I'm losing the war. I really am. I've stepped up my training regiments a lot, over these past, 18 or 19 weeks, long before I started JPWA, trying to get in the best shape of my life, trying to get back what I lost. Because like I said, I got really skinny, lost a lot of muscle, and then I gained a lot of weight, during recovery, and, was really unhappy with the way things, had worked out throughout the second half of last year in my wrestling and how I performed in the ring. And that's just my take on it. Through my eyes, I felt like my performance wasn't up to par. So I really needed to figure something out. And every night that I wrestled back then, I proved to myself that, A, I could still do it. And B, I could still, go at it with these guys that are half my age. Now that I'm a heart attack survivor and, almost 40 years old, got a late start in wrestling, obviously. But at the same time, I really want to make sure that I'm doing all that I can to be the best.
Well, that includes your regiment, your workout regiment. And you said something very important. You said that you were trying to get in shape, and in-ring shape versus actual gym shape is two totally different things. And it really is, because your in-ring work and your in-ring performance, you might have 10 minutes live, but you might be going 4 hours hard behind closed doors and nobody's really seeing it. Nobody's seeing what's going on for your training regimen. But you and whoever's with you training. Whereas if you're in a gym, you might work out for an hour, lift weights, run a little bit, do the things that you have to do to make sure that you're okay. Do your push-ups, do your sit-ups, do bicycles, whatever you're doing to make sure that your core is taken care of and your heart's taken care of and you're moving forward. But it's a totally different shape. The reason I say that is because when I showed up, I looked like a 40 freaking pound sack of potatoes whenever I showed up to train my first day of training, and it sucked the wind out of me. Like I ate wind for 2 weeks, two and a half weeks to get in shape. And then, I'm still not in perfect shape. I've never been in perfect shape. But then, I mean, it still killed me. And that was coming out of the Army, being in good regiment, being in good health. And just speak to that a little bit of what shape is better for you to be in and how you have to work and how you have to train if you want to be in this industry.
So I really thought that I was in good shape when like I said, I spent about 2 months getting ready for JPWA. And the first couple days we did drills, and, Dr. Tom's really famous for these drills. Specifically, it's like man in the middle drill and things like that. And, it really kind of puts you through the ringer, and it really is, it's an in-ring shaper type drill. Most of his drills are anyways, but, there's so much you could do outside of wrestling, CrossFit. There's, so much you can do to get in shape, to try to get in the best shape of your life, especially as a performer. But once you get inside those ropes, it's a whole different ball game. It really is. And the only way to get into that in-ring shape, like you say, is to get between the ropes, try to get inside a wrestling ring as often as possible, to try to keep that in-ring shapeness. Because I mean, I think for those 12 weeks, I was doing 2-a-days. So gym in the morning, training with Dr. Tom at night. And things were just getting crazy with my body. And, the drills that were so hard for me during week 3 and 4, I was getting through on week 8 and really needed to keep pushing myself further than that. I was struggling with things, during week 4, and, by week 9 and 10, I wasn't struggling anymore. And, just the consistency of getting inside those ropes really helped with the in-ring cardio. And, don't get me wrong, the stuff outside, the gym outside the ring really helps as well. But, if you want to be the best and take care of your opponent and look good doing it, you really got to get in the gym.
Absolutely.
Jonny, I like to touch on something that you mentioned a little bit earlier. I've known a lot of people that's had not necessarily heart attacks, but open heart surgeries, that's had bypasses and stuff like that. And you mentioned something that they have all mentioned, that once you're cut open and you're cracked open, you come out a different person. You feel a little bit different. Can you kind of go into that a little bit more?
So I I just felt like I lost a piece of me. You know what I mean? Like, and it's crazy how the heart attack came about. I was putting together a bunk bed for my daughter, and I came out to the garbage can to throw some trash away. And all of a sudden it just happened right there in my driveway, and once I found out it was a full blown heart attack and I needed open heart surgery, and they had to do the whole chest thing. They couldn't do a stent through my arm or whatever. And, I was terrified. I seriously was. I didn't know what the other side was going to look like after. Like I said, I wasn't even really thinking about wrestling at the time. I was more thinking about family. I had just got this beautiful family. And now I'm having near fatal heart attacks in my driveway, and to get my chest cracked open, and then even after the surgery, I just felt like a different person. It was almost like a part of me died in that driveway. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it put a lot of things into perspective, and I go back to the Army days because, war put things in perspective the same way. They really made me think about what the priorities were in my life and what I wanted and how I wanted the rest of my life to look like.
I hate to say this, but it may be one of those things where the heart attack was a blessing in disguise as far as getting you motivated to go back in and go to the School of Pritchard.
And I believe it was a blessing in disguise as well. Me and my wife, we talk about it every day. Almost every day we talk about my heart attack and how, we think it was a blessing because thankfully it happened, in my driveway and not me driving 80 miles an hour down a highway or with my kids in the car or even in a match in a wrestling ring. I mean, it's crappy that it happened, but I'm glad it happened where it happened. And obviously I'm glad that there was no damage and, I was cleared, but, I don't know. Just something left me that day, in my driveway. And I really don't know how to pinpoint it, but, it was almost like I was reborn because, there's another picture on my Facebook of me the day I left the hospital, and it says the day I was reborn. And I believe when I walked out of that hospital that day, I was reborn, and not necessarily in a religious, aspect, but just reborn in priorities and what I want and how I want the rest of my life to look.
For the ones that knows me, knows I don't like this serious talk, so let's move on to something a little bit more fun real quick. Let's go to some of these chats real quick. And if I butcher these names, I'm sorry. Kaylin Disney says, Jonny Faith, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, buddy?
And we got Justin Tucker says, let's go, Johnny. So hyped to see the journey.
Yeah, Justin's another one of the JPWA graduates that I graduated with.
And then our correspondent that's on special assignment in Sherwood is Jeremy Bryan.
I got to respond to this one. I know it's Johnny's moment, but I need to respond.
But he's on special assignment in Sherwood right now. Jeremy Bryan Johnson, we call him Double J. Watch out, Johnny. These guys are heels.
I am not a heel because I am the vice president of the Evan Golden fan club.
And my wife can attest to that. She's the president.
I am not a heel. And I don't. Go ahead, Howie.
And they actually had a meeting Saturday night when Evan was there. It was called to order the president and the vice president. So
I think we're passing out hugs even. So let's move on.
Hey, if there's no pictures of it, it didn't happen.
That's true.
Kaylin says we're going to get Jonny Faith in at community championship wrestling sooner than later.
Yeah, we are. As soon as I get my South Carolina license, working on that now.
And Double J checking in from Sherwood sends a red face. So
the favorite drink in Sherwood is Orange Fanta. We established that last week.
So, all right, Johnny. I gotta ask. It's a thing. Even Saturday night after we got done, we just went and watched it. Me and Randy went and watched it with our daughters wrestling. And when it was over with, we took off to the Waffle House to eat. So after your matches at the Waffle House, or do you go to the Waffle House? And if so, what do you eat?
So actually, what's funny is we went to the Waffle House a few times. I haven't been to a Waffle House in a long time. I used to go to the Waffle House a lot. Obviously, I was in the Army. Those late night Waffle House sessions were pretty
That's
interesting.
midnight chow, baby.
But actually, we went to the Waffle House a few times with the rest of the JPW trainees after we went and did a couple of shows with NWA JCP. We went and did their ring. We went and was ring crew for them down in Decatur, Tennessee, and a couple shows for them. And good opportunity, by the way. Thank you, NWA JCP, for that. But yeah, we went to the Waffle House afterwards. Texas cheesesteak, I think that's what it's called, right? Is it the Texas cheesesteak? I think, or something like that. That's what I always used to get. And I remember, first time I'd been in a Waffle House was right after NWA JCP show, and I had no idea what to order except there was my Texas cheesesteak that I kind of remember eating a long time ago, but not really. So that's what I got, Texas cheesesteak.
I'm asking you what you're eating at the Waffle House after having a heart attack a year or so ago. I know that's not good for you. So what is your diet, I guess you could say, since the heart attack?
Cardiac diet, really, it's kind of just watching, everything. A lot of Gatorade, a lot of water, some caffeine, some soda things here and there, but it's not an old Jonny Faith diet, if that makes sense. It's not a Hot Pocket, bag of chips, ice cream, all that kind of good stuff, and I mean, I get some of that in every now and again, but that the whole 12 weeks I was at JPWA, I tried to eat as good as possible, and that's the big thing about, my cardiac situation now is I have to watch what I eat. Obviously I can't just chow it down. There's time and place for that. Just have to plan for it.
And something I've asked everyone, and you're not going to be no different, Jonny. So here it comes. Superstitions or rituals before you hit the ring. Do you have any?
So I pace around the locker room for probably about 20 minutes before my match. I literally just eventually once I feel the time is right, I'll get up and I'll just pace it. Now, if there's an outside area or something, where the fans can't see me, I'll pace. But I'm a pacer, if that makes sense. I pace and I just think, and it's not even like I'm thinking about the match. I'm just thinking about, the opportunities, and I'm thinking about, all the people, that are potentially watching me right now, or just, doing my little blessings, my gratefulnesses to people and things like that. But yeah, I'm one of those pacers. And I'm the quietest guy in the locker room. I'm sure you could ask anybody I've been in a locker room with. I'm very quiet until my music hits, and then something changes. I just turn into a different person. But yeah, I'm a super quiet person and a pacer.
When you start talking about pacing, Joseph down here did a big old grin on his face. What do you got to say about that, Joseph?
He walks around like a chicken with his head cut off. He's not just pacing. He's like bobbing and moving and juking and jiving until you kind of get him settled on what he's doing. And that's the funny thing, because he's calling it a pace, but it's not a pace. That's his own pace, but it's chicken with his head cut off pace is what it is.
And that's how I've always been. It's just one of those things that just calms me down. It really does. It calms me down, because if I sit down, sit still, that's when the nerves really creep in. And I get nerves a lot, and I really do. Every match, there's always nerves.
Oh, Jonny, if you're not getting nerves, there's something wrong with you, man. Like every time, and I told you this, I'm always nervous before we go live. Like I always have it. I have the butterflies before we go live, and it doesn't matter if I'm in ring, out of ring, if I'm on commentary, if I'm managing, it does not matter. Those butterflies are always there until it's over with. So that's normal. You just got to deal with that. That's fine.
Yeah, and that's what the pacing's for. The pacing just deals with that, because if I sit still and I sat still for the first month or two of my career and really hated it because I was just so nerve wracked. But once I started my little pace, kind of calmed me down a little bit.
Jonny, you seem like the type of person that, I don't want to say you're a perfectionist, but pretty close to it. So every match that you have, do you record the match and go back and watch and see what you may have done wrong?
All the time. Every match that I have the opportunity to do. Usually I'll ask the promoter or something, hey, are you guys filming this match? If not, can I film it? Can I have my girlfriend film it, my wife film it, my kid film it, whoever. And usually, they're like, yeah, that's fine. And it's not for highlight reels or any of that stuff. it's always for me to go back and look at it, or to send it to somebody for them to look at so they can critique me, send me feedback. I am always recording my matches or watching the footage from companies when they record my matches to just look at my work, and last year was a big key to that, because, I really wanted to make sure that I was good in ring. So, all those matches last year I recorded for sure and watched back. And, I've tried to do that ever since, just to make sure that I am doing what I can to get better.
Well, Jonny, that's a great thing to do. And you're actually following in the footsteps of some really great athletes who do that. I got started doing that in basketball before I went to college and played in college basketball. Is they got me in the film room and they said, this is you, this is what you're doing, this is what you need to do, this is how we're going to fix this. And then they'd work on little things like that. Well, that carried over into college, where if I'm doing something wrong or I can fix it, if I can see what I'm doing wrong, how do we fix it? How do we work on it? How do we get out there and do it? And Tom Brady is one of the biggest ones. He's going to tell you every time that you're out there, he's gone out there and he scouted the defense. He knows what's going to happen. He knows how he's going to react to it, what he did before, how he's going to change it, and how it's going to happen. And you got to see, man, the man's got Super Bowl rings behind him. So the best in the business of any business, they're going to want to be a student of the game. They're going to want to study themselves. They're going to want to study what's going on. They're going to want to study their opponents, and they're going to make the biggest changes, and they're going to make the biggest impact in the industry. So that's a great thing to have.
Yeah. And even Dr. Tom was telling us about that at the school as well. He's like, you really need to watch your matches back, to see where you messed up, what you could have done better, get somebody else to watch your matches for you. Somebody that's not going to sugarcoat it, but will tell you honestly, hey, maybe you should try this or do this, or, just whatever critiques you can get from people. That's how you get better. Constructive criticism, it can go a long way. You just kind of got to swallow it for a second and take it on the chin, and then fix it for next time. And, for me, I'm all about that.
Great point, Jonny. So this industry has a lot of egos in it. This industry has a lot of personalities in it, and not everybody is going to get along. And you may run across somebody in this industry that when you ask them something, it may hurt your feelings just a little bit. Harley Race was that guy for me. If I asked him anything, he would chew it up and spit it out and throw it back at you. And, you just had to take it with a grain of salt, yes, sir, no, sir. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you, sir. Whatever. And, he hated being called sir too, but you have to be nice in those situations, because you can't say, look here, effer. Like you can't go there, with certain people.
Joseph, you mean you didn't stand up Harley Race and tell him what you thought?
I wasn't about to get my ass kicked like that. Trust me. I've seen some of that stuff. No, sir. So,
Jonny, you're talking about the music going to the ring. What music do you come out to?
So I have my own custom music. It's custom. You can find it on YouTube. I think on my YouTube channel, it's there. But it's done by a guy named Eddie Ruger, and at the beginning of it, a bunch of air raid sirens are going off, and there's machine gun fire and all that, and that lasts about 10 to 12 seconds or so, and then the music hits. But that's where the switch flips for me. When I hear those air raid sirens and I'm standing behind that curtain, I know in 10 to 12 seconds, that switch is going to flip when that music hits, and it's just going to be a different person walking through that curtain.
How big of a difference is it now compared to before your heart attack, having to recover from a match?
Well, I'd say it's probably about the same. I mean, I would say it's about the same. Actually, to be honest with you, I might recover a lot better now. Now that I'm in the shape that I am in. I had a really good match with Jamile at SPCW for my JPWA graduation. I think we went about 12, 13 minutes, and I was good after that, like honestly. And, I didn't expect me to recover so quickly. And I remember recovery for me after matches, last year when I first got back from my heart attack, it was a lot, even though there were just fatal four ways and things like that. But, for me, it was a lot, back then. But today, I think I should be okay. Like, I think if not, I'm better than before, honestly.
That's great. That's awesome.
Well, Jonny, speaking of recovery, is there anything special that you do in recovery? Do you do any ice baths, or do you do any resting water baths, anything like that to help your muscles relax?
Honestly, I just stretch. Like I really just stretch. I know a lot of people do a lot of post match things and all that, but the thing that's worked for me is good old fashioned stretching, stretching and drinking water. Um, the Army built me, so I'm just gonna keep feeding this machine what the Army taught it. So, and if I need something else, then I'll add that at a later date. But for right now, really I just stretch. I mean, after my matches, I kind of just cool down, take a load off, kind of reflect for a second, collect myself, do my stretches, do my water thing, and try to drive on, for the rest of the night. But no, I really don't do anything special, honestly.
QB1, I know you got questions.
Well, I was going to make a comment. Of course, Joseph used that ragdoll Tom Brady as his example. I just want you to know I record when I go to Golden Corral because nobody can eat better than me. I've got Super Bowl rings everywhere. So I just
That's proven.
Now, that's a great example, Joseph. I want to hit on something real fast. 2 questions really fast. One's more of a comment, and you can follow up to it. You did serve our proud country, and we're all in your debt, and we're all grateful for it. And I would like to know what the military brought you in, what the military gave you that you're able to use in pro wrestling.
Oh man, the military gave me a lot. It really did. A lot carried over, and a lot of people were just like, oh, the hand-to-hand combat that carried over, and all that good stuff. But I mean, the responsibility is what carried over for me. Like, I mean, I know hand-to-hand combat, there's a lot of things that carry over, but the big thing that the military gave me and carried over to pro wrestling was responsibility and how to be a professional. All right, no matter how crazy things hit the fan, how much you hate people or hate situations, it's how to keep those situations from escalating even further than they should. So the responsibility the military taught me, making sure I'm there on time, making sure I'm sharing the show flyer, making sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to, making sure I am asking them what they need help with, being a team player, just trying to do what I can to help everyone grow as a whole. Trying to build everybody up, responsibility. And, that goes a long way in pro wrestling. And
it does,
if you're not responsible, people will see that.
Right.
And they will see that your lack thereof of caring, and, they won't want to use you or associate with you. So, the responsibility the military taught me definitely is probably the biggest thing, because there's a lot to unfold in the world of professional wrestling. And, you got to figure out how to balance all that and to be responsible and fulfill all of those, promoters' wants and needs.
That's the quickest way not to get yourself booked is to be 2 hours down the road when the rest of the guys are tearing down the rings. That's an easy way not to get booked. And I'm sure the whole world knows that. Number 2, I want to cover this. You've got a resume online. We're going to have that on River City Media. If you want to come look at it, it's going to be pinned to the top. When you're a Jacobs Pritchard Wrestling Academy graduate and you're in the area, bookings come automatically almost. Joseph, you can comment to that. JPWA kids people are in high demand. You've left now. Let's talk about how we get you booked in North Florida, South Georgia, all the areas you need to be booked at. Maybe we can even catch a show from Chattanooga down in Atlanta. Tell us how we managed to get this Jonny Faith in the situation we all want to see you in.
So I'm on pretty much every social media: TikTok, X, Instagram, Jonny Faith 704. Usually if you type in Jonny Faith, I'm there. JonnyFaith704@gmail.com is my email address as well. But like you said, I've been out of school for about 2 weeks now, graduated, and I'm just now starting to message promoters in emails and put fillers out there to places. I was actually going to do like a like a Facebook Live, I think in the next couple of days, saying that I'm going to be open for bookings and stuff, because, it all goes back to my performance. And like I said before, I was unhappy with the way I performed pre JPWA, but I really feel like now, that I went through Dr. Tom's school. I feel the confidence, again, and I'm really, trying to get out there to as many battlefields as I can. I'm on all social medias, got a YouTube page as well. There's also a link somewhere on all my social medias that sends you to a Google Drive.
Yeah.
That has match links. It has my resume. It has promo pics. It has pretty much everything that you would need to deliver Jonny Faith to you in a file. So anything you want to know about Jonny Faith is in that Google Drive, pretty much. But yeah, I think that's about it.
One thing we can do is we'll strip our copyright and turn our copyright for this program over to you. You can use any part that you wish to use. And if you'd like to make a video out of this and use part of it for your video resume, please feel free. We will not hold any copyright to it. It is yours, sir.
Cool.
The other thing that I want to ask you before I go to Joseph, who's got more of the intel than the rest of us, you use a term called battle buddy. And I find that so endearing, not only to kids, to adults. Where does that come from?
So in the Army, the guys beside you, those are your battle buddies. They are the guys that are there for you 24/7, have your six. You need somebody to call at 2:00 in the morning, come pick you up. Whether it's from a bar or from a girlfriend's fight or, something like that, they're there for you 24/7, and that's what the fans are to me. They're my battle buddies because they are always there for me 24/7, no matter where I go. No matter where I go, they always show me love, whether I'm a brand new wrestler to that company in that area, or I've been going there for the entire 6 years of my career. And the term battle buddy, that's what I call the fans, because, to me, they help string me along. They got my six. When I'm feeling low, I can just look out and I can see them and they can lift me right up.
That's awesome. Joseph, Johnny's the kind of guy you could put anywhere in the card and he will deliver. You can put him at the top of the card, or you can put him in the middle of the card, or you can put him on the first match, which we all know is critically important. He's a special talent.
Absolutely, he is. And we actually got to see him on the very front of the card at SPCW for his graduation match with none other than Jamal. And he did an excellent job. And you quoted yourself earlier. It was 14 minutes and 50 seconds is what you went. So you almost went 15 minutes total for your match. And you did a bang-up job, my friend. You did an awesome job. So you don't have anything to worry about. And you can put him anywhere on the card. You can put him at the very beginning. You can put him at the middle. You can put him at the end. He could be a main event talent for you if you will let him be the main event talent for you. He could be the best heel in the business if you'll let him be the heel for you. You don't have to take my word for it. Check his resume out. Look at what he's done in the past. Look at where he's went to school. Look at who has taught him and trained him and brought him into the industry and have helped him evolve as a wrestler. And I'm going to tell you guys, it's going to be something special for each and every one of you that are out there. So bookers, if you're out there, he just told you how to book him. Book Jonny Faith today.
Definitely. Howie, Johnny's got a great, we've just had him for 50 minutes. But he's kind of one of those guys that sucks you in. You put him on your card and you just, I don't know, man. I feel like I've known Jonny for an hour and he's my best buddy. So he's got that sense to him, don't he? Howie,
you're muted, buddy.
Sorry about that. Yeah, Jonny, it's great for you to have you on here. Love to have you back anytime, and getting to know you and hear your stories just been awesome tonight.
Yeah, I appreciate it. This is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm all about telling my story and trying to inspire and do what I can to help wrestling grow. And, if that's inspiring, other wrestlers and people, when you talk about, me being different after my heart attack, and I live by 3 simple words now after my heart attack: honor, defend, and inspire. And, living by those 3 words, that's what drives war-driven Jonny Faith. And, I appreciate the opportunity you guys let me come on and tell my story, but this is just the tip. We didn't even really talk about the Army or anything. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, next time we'll dive in deep.
Hey, Jonny, I got some news for you, though. You were at SOM whenever they did the Cobra Strikes Back, and you were the talk of the town with Aaron Stevens. I'm going to tell you right now, and this is just between us 4 and whoever's watching, they loved you. They loved your gimmick. They loved everything about it, especially the promo that you gave. It really put a big light on you, and you have a big star on your back now, especially with those guys. So in the days to come, it would be very behooving of you to reach out to a lot of people, because you just may get that one person that was at the SOM that saw you that may want you to come work for them.
Exactly. And that's like I was telling you boys earlier, I'm starting, I was going to start probably early next week and start reaching out and doing what I can to gather some more bookings. Cause right now I'm still trying to adjust to family, trying to get back into the routine. I was gone for 3 months. My family, was in a routine without me. So, trying to slide back in and making sure I'm not causing too much chaos, and all that. And then we're going to start hitting the road every weekend for wrestling. So I would just want to make sure we're all settled in and used to me being home again before I start picking up and hitting the road. So yeah, I appreciate all the kind words, Joseph. Definitely. Thank you.
Jonny, you mentioned how they can get in contact with you as far as bookings and all that. Do you have any merchandise out there that you could let us know about?
Yes, I do. I actually have a Pro Wrestling Tees store as well. If you want to go on there, and you can Google Jonny Faith or search for Jonny Faith on Pro Wrestling Tees. I sell a whole bunch of merch at shows, dog tags. I have wristbands, T-shirts, 8x10s, things like that. So yeah, I got a bunch of merch. But if you're looking for something right now, ProWrestlingTees.com, that would be your best bet to grab a Jonny Faith shirt.
Hey, before you go on, Howie, and I know what your next one. You do sell fat guy sizes like 4X, 5X.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You can't come on this show unless you at least got a 4X. So go ahead.
Yeah. No, I'm done, man. Jonny, I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, it's been awesome hearing your story. Love to have you back on a little bit later on to dive a little bit more deeper into maybe the military part of it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm ready whenever you guys are. Just and I appreciate it. Howie, I definitely appreciate your kind words as well, and thank you, boys, for letting me come on.
Absolutely, Mr. Joseph Hughes, Rabbit Beaver. What do you got, buddy?
Hey, right before we go, I shared something with you guys. It's actually his store off Pro Wrestling Tees. It shows all the T-shirts that he has available. Can we get that on the screen?
Did you just share that to me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm going to go off screen. Oh, there you go.
There it is. So look, guys, he's got the green war driven. He's got the face shirts. He's got both of those. And then he's got Jonny Faith in kind of a cream color as well. There is shipping and handling that is available on all of these. That we have to tell that up front for everybody that's wanting to order. But he does have sizes. He has sizes up to 3X in all of these shirts. So go ahead and get you some today, guys.
God, I have boy sizes. Hey, wrap it up here. By the way, the door is always open, and we kind of have a bad habit. If we like you, which obviously we do, we invite you back more than you probably want to come. So you're just going to have to come and let us know. Trust me, TKO thinks he's the co-host of the show. TKO's not been on, so you must not made him mad lately. So.
I have no problem coming on as many times as possible, because I could talk for days about wrestling, my life, my career, we didn't even dive into my grandpa, so I mean I got all kinds of stuff we could talk about.
Yeah, a favorite wrestler growing up.
Ric Flair.
Woo!
Woo!
Hey folks, we're gonna run this ad down in the area, but book Jonny Faith. Do us a favor, get him, understand. He's wanted some time with the family. You can't let a wrestler stay at home too many weekends. So somebody pick up the phone, call Jonny Faith, and book him. And if you ever need anything out of us, Jonny, anytime, any place, anywhere, all three of us, you got it, buddy. For Randall Cunningham, for River City Media, for Wrestle Talk, we always get the Rabbit Beaver in with us. And JJ on special assignment in Sherwood.
He's lost.
No bank.
He's deep in them woods.
Orange sodas and chicken wings is all he's had to eat for weeks. I'm Randall Cunningham. He's Howie Chaney. He's Joseph Hughes.
The rabid beaver, guys.
Below me is the one that matters most. He is the war-driven Jonny Faith. It's still real to us. And thank you. God bless. And come back and see us next Thursday night.
Bye, guys.